Namaste. Today we shall talk about relationships and how to divinize them. So when we hear about divinizing relationship, we think some utopian ideas. We think that it may not be possible. But here we shall discuss only those practical aspects which we can work out in our day-to-day life and in our relationship with others who are, irrespective of whether they are close to you, whether you live with them day in and day out, or it is a stranger or a transactional relationship like in a store with a shopkeeper or a fellow passenger, etc. So the main idea is to reset your relationship. That is, not in terms of outward dealings, but in terms of psychological expression of or reaction of your past. So in every relationship, we see that there is certain amount of past involved. No matter whether you are a monk or you are a householder, you are a student, doesn't matter. We are always in a relationship with someone or something. That's our day-to-day life in this world. So, to the extent we can reduce the influence of past in our interactions mentally, that is, how we react to the person who is in front of you. If it is colored by the past, we'll be in an unconscious loop. We'll always be reacting in the same way that we did in the past, and that will again come back and boost that particular tendency, so that every time we see that person, we don't see him as a fresh individual, fresh living being. So that is why people like to meet with strangers, some of them, and go to strange places, because you have less past associated with that particular place, and then you enjoy the beauty and you feel refreshed. So the question is, can we bring that same beauty or same freshness into our day-to-day relationship with your loved ones or people whom you interact with on a daily basis? Although it is difficult, it is possible, and the way to do it is by being alert. When I say being alert, what I mean is, you should be able to detect that tendency in you to judge that person the moment he or she comes in front of you. You can see that with so much of practice, you will be able to detect that. Initially, it may be difficult because we are too conditioned to live in that way. So it's a new thing for most of you. Some of you may be practicing that already. So for them, it'll be a easier task to do that. So to detect the past, so I'll make it simpler by giving an example. Suppose your husband comes in front of you. Now you say, yeah, I know him for past 10 years, 20 years, or maybe 6 months. So you have built up an image. You have built an image of him in your mind. And when you see that person in front of you, you no longer see the person who is there right now, but you see your image of that person which you have built, and you're interacting based on that. So it's a dead relationship. It's not a living relationship anymore, because time is overtaking the present. The past is overtaking the present. So with a little amount of awareness or alertness in trying to be neutral in your relationships, you can transcend or prevent this past from overtaking the entire communication or entire transaction what you're having with that person. So what will be the result when you act in that way? You are creating a space for that individual to be as he is at that particular moment, without imposing your own preconceived notions or the past conditioning. So what happens is, he now has a chance to evolve. Suppose he is also or he is in an unconscious pattern, constantly accusing you or anything, constantly judging. Nobody wants to be judged. Nobody. That's why people love kids. They are not doing it consciously. The kids too have it. Nobody comes with a blank slate, but they are unconscious at that stage. At that stage, they do not have enough data to judge you. So they come with this wonderful look on their face when they see you, and you feel a certain relief. Your ego is let down. Your ego, you keep your ego aside for a moment when dealing with a child, because you know that the child is not judging you. So you are true to yourself in that moment, at that moment. So what the child does unconsciously, we can do it consciously by not allowing the judgment of the other person to dictate our relationships. So with constant practice, a certain degree of alertness is required. So don't worry if you fail in the first attempt or even the 100th attempt, because life is worth living only if you have some progress. Physically, we do not progress much. You can have maybe 200 pounds, that's it. And at a certain age, the body starts deteriorating. Mind is also subtle, but matter nevertheless. So you can keep it fresh to a great extent. So some people are 100 years old and they still have a vital mind. But by bringing this dimension into your daily life, that is, when you meet a person without the baggage of the past, what you're doing is you're allowing your divinity to express itself. At that moment, when you're dealing with something without the baggage of the past, you have kept your ego aside, that is the aham, or the individual consciousness, and unconsciously or consciously, you are allowing that universal intelligence to act through you. So most of the times, right things will happen. You will say the right thing, appropriate to the moment. So that is the best way to live. And to the extent we can practice it, we will reap immense benefits. So it helps, first of all, yourself, and then it helps the other person, because he or she slowly feels that you are not judging him constantly, and then he puts his ego down, and he will also interact in an enlightened way. So this is a refreshing way to live, moment after moment, in the eternal now, or the present moment you can call. So it's in another way, what we are doing is we are negating time to play any psychological tricks, because external time we cannot negate. We need time to go from one place to another, to plan a trip maybe. Of course, during this lockdown period it may not be possible, and so sometimes it becomes even more challenging in these situations, because you are day in and day out living with the same people. So the past, there is every chance that the past overtakes and conditions your interactions to so much that people start shouting and screaming for no reason, and they are not in control of themselves. And it's not that they hate the other person, it's just the unconscious conditioning coming out. So that's a very toxic way to live. That's why relationships, even after 10 years, 20 years, it may break, because this toxicity level has become intolerable for the other person. So all these things can be controlled by bringing in your conscious participation, that is, by not involving your ego. If you say don't involve ego, you will feel, oh, then I'll become vulnerable, the other person can take advantage. No, we are not doing anything of that kind. We are just being neutral, as if this is the first time you're going to meet that person. So you're extremely alert, and you meet the demand, you meet the conditions the situation demands, rather than going back to the past. And of course, the past is within you, it's not going anywhere. So instinctually, you will handle the situation based on the knowledge from the past, but without the psychological judgment. If the words are confusing, you can try practicing this, and then you will see what I'm trying to say. Even to a small extent, if you practice this, you will know that difference in your daily life. The quality of your life will change drastically. Your peace of mind will be a constant, irrespective of what the situation is outside. Like one spiritual teacher says, there are three things you need to ensure that it operates in your life at every moment. One is acceptance. That is, if you have a bad situation where you cannot do anything, you cannot enjoy it, you got to accept it, because that is what it is. You are accepting not your story in your head that, oh, this is what fate has done to me. No stories, just that present situation. Like you are in the traffic stuck for half an hour, that's the present situation. Can you do something about it? If you can, yes, do. If you cannot, just stay where you are. In either case, you are in peace. You may not enjoy it, but by bringing acceptance, you are in peace. So the other thing he says is enjoyment. Like there are other things which are not so problematic, like your daily chores, washing the dishes, or some monotonous work which you have to do again and again, day after day. There you can bring in enjoyment. See, everywhere you will see the common pattern. The common pattern is bring in alertness. That will reduce the thoughts in your mind and it won't go off on some stories. So you are doing it without attention. No. So Buddhists call it mindfulness. Whatever words you use, the basic idea is to be in the moment while dealing with people, dealing with situations. So in all your relationship with the world, you're bringing in that quality of your presence, which is the most precious thing that you have. You might have noticed that all throughout, no matter whether you are 10 years old, 50 years old, you are always in the now. When you think about the past, you do it right now. You can never be in the past. If you went to the past, you will still be in the now, that moment. So that is the glimpse of eternity in you. So Maya is like a contradiction in terms. You see the time flying, at the same time you feel this eternal thing within you. You can never imagine yourself not existing in any situation. So the third thing that he says is enthusiasm. So there are some things which you enjoy, and when you are constantly in this state of mind where you are completely alert, absolutely responding to the situation rather than reacting, then your awareness will push you to a certain dimension, and then you will be enthusiastic about what you do. You will be enthusiastic about what you do, and then that changes what you do. So that's why inspired works come into being. People who have got into that enthusiastic mode, they have created wonderful things in this world. So you need to ensure that any one of these three modalities operate in your life at any given time. So that's it. Thank you, one and all. Stay healthy, stay happy, stay fearless. Namaste.